Eye in the Sky is a modern wartime political thriller about a military personnel led by Helen Mirren as a military intelligence officer, remotely commanding a drone operation to locate and capture terrorists who are planning a secret mission in Nairobi, Kenya. The film features a highly impressive ensemble cast comprised of Aaron Paul as a United States Air Force drone pilot, Barkhad Abdi of Captain Phillips fame as a Kenyan undercover agent, and the late great Alan Rickman as a lieutenant general, among others. Their mission escalates when, unbeknownst to her, a little girl enters the dangerous zone in which the operation is taking place, triggering an international dispute over the legal, ethical, and political implications presented by modern drone warfare against those using terrorist tactics and the civilians who are endangered by it. In a nutshell, this film is about people arguing over whether or not they should pull the trigger and kill this innocent girl, along with the dangerous terrorist assholes. Now, I'm a fan of these types of films, and the one it kept repeatedly reminding me of because of the obvious reasons of it also featuring drone warfare was, of course, Good Kill. Now, I didn't particularly like that movie. I mean, it was alright, like, the moral and ethical dilemmas presented in it were fascinating and thought-provoking, and Ethan Hawke is great in it, as always, but I thought it was very one-sided, it had a very razor-thin plot, and it had some unforgivably bad editing and pacing issues. Now, of course, it didn't help that Good Kill kept reminding me of American Sniper, a film that has been heavily criticized for distorting the true events it is based on, and presenting the moral implications of the Iraqi war way too unilaterally, and not to mention presenting the Iraqi people in general as nothing more than a bunch of primitive savages. It's quite strange, I think, how both Good Kill and American Sniper only focused on just simply the psychological damage of American war veterans, only showing us how American soldiers are scarred and are suffering. And think about this, like, they have the luxury of having to kill people from an enormous distance. Especially in the case of drone pilots. I mean, they're not even in the same country where the war is taking place. They're tens of thousands of miles away. They're home. And so in these films, all of the other characters, and especially the characters who are on the other side of the barricade, on the other side of the war, are presented as nothing more than just pure plot devices and not real people. Luckily, Eye in the Sky turns this formula on its head and gives us a vast array of very rich characters, each of them with their own individual dilemmas of whether or not to follow orders, of course, but the film doesn't necessarily linger on any individual character for way too long. You see, this is a political thriller that wants to remain a political thriller and doesn't really want to spill over into the tearjerker territory, which is especially surprising considering that we finally get a character, an actual character, from who we get to experience what exactly is this kind of post-9/11 modern warfare type of conflict is like, and what it's like to actually be living, to actually be a native to a place like this, in which you're under the constant threat of being blown up, either by the terrorists from your own country, or by the Americans. This little girl does an excellent job, and I mean the actress, the girl playing the character. She doesn't really have to do that much. Like I said, it's a film which doesn't really linger on any one specific character for a long time, but she is a genuine character. She doesn't really feel like just a simple ploy or plot device in the film. She is a real character who we don't get to spend a lot of time with because we don't need to. Just by witnessing a few of her daily tasks, we get to find out everything there is to know about her. She is a playful, loving, hard-working kid who just wants to stay out of trouble and who tries to make ends meet by selling bread on the street. And this sort of tactic of humanizing your characters with just a very little amount of time, with a very few quick moments, is repeated for many of the characters in the film. One of my favorite parts is how Alan Rickman's character is introduced in the beginning of the film. You see, before he goes to work, where he has to take part in these a matter of life and death decisions, he has to go and buy a doll for his daughter, with whom he is speaking on the phone. And he eventually ends up buying a similar doll, but the wrong one. And it's something like he can't really figure out why is this so important, what's the big difference, and it's such a good metaphor for what happens later in the film. And it's so fucking clever, it's so smart, it has so much to say about his character, it has so much to say about him as a person, about how he views and how he weighs and how he prioritizes certain things. It's really interesting how many of these characters never even meet, are never even in the same room during the film. I mean, our military intelligence officer is in the United Kingdom, our drone pilots are in the United States, our undercover agent is right there on the spot in Nairobi, Kenya. And it really goes to show you how technology has permitted us to be able to do pretty much almost everything by now just by watching a couple of fucking screens. And how we can take having this highly advanced technology for granted, but that doesn't mean that the lives of innocent civilians are in any less danger. Quite the contrary, war can still violate basic human rights. Eye in the Sky is a superb film from all points of view. It's very timely, it raises some very important questions. Abso-fucking-lutely recommended. So that's it, my lovelies. Thanks for watching my review. As always, I will see you later with other reviews. Until then, take care, keep loving movies, and goodbye.